It's still list time as we continue to cover the best things that happened this year in the world of Canadian mixed martial arts, and today we are looking at the best upsets of year 2022. For those who don't know, an upset is basically a surprise, a result that was unexpected, a fighter that wasn't favored to win a fight but ended up winning the fight. So I tried to rank the biggest upsets of the year, but before we get going, we need to do some honorable mentions as usual. Ryan Rohovich against Josh Kwiatkowski at BFL 72. Jamel Jones against Christian Larson at Unified 46. Delano Taylor against Rory MacDonald in the PFL playoffs. Makinde Adeyemi against Raph Ouellet at BFL 73. And Jenna Fabian against Julia Budd at PFL 3. And at number 10, we've got the upset that absolutely broke my heart. It's Blake Bilder against Alex Morgan on the Contender Series. And shit, man, what are we gonna do? Exactly the same thing that happened to Morgan last time he was in a huge spot happened to him again. You remember when he fought Charles Jourdain at TKO, got stunned by a spinning back fist and got immediately submitted after getting dropped. And that's basically what happened here. It wasn't a crazy spinning back fist, but still got hurt on his feet, got dropped. Bilder jumped on his back and jumped on the choke, and Alex Morgan tried to fight it, but ultimately wasn't able to add to tap out and basically miss his opportunity to win a UFC contract in a fight where he was close to a 2-1 favorite on the odds. At number 9 is Julian Erosa against Hakeem Dawodu at UFC 279. And yes, Julian Erosa was clearly on the rise. He was able to get some very surprising victories in the last few years, including a submission win over Charles Jourdain, who was one of the most surprising wins we've seen that year. But there was no way he was going to beat Hakeem Dawodu, right? You know, Jourdain is kind of a wild card. The guy is super exciting, super aggressive, but sometimes it can play against him. Dawodu is not that at all. He's technical, he's mean, he's fast. But man, Julian Erosa just came in and absolutely stifled Dawodu en route to a clear decision win and a result that was absolutely unexpected. At number 8, it's Sadibou against Rory MacDonald at PFL 6. So yeah, we had seen Rory MacDonald slow down a little in the last few years and get some losses here and there, but he only lost to top level talent, and his only other loss was an absolute travesty of a decision against Gleison Tibau. So there were no ways that people thought that he would lose a fight to absolute unknown Sadibou, but that's what ended up happening in a fight that Sadibou was able to parlay into $1 million at the end. He ended up winning the whole season of the PFL, but at the moment it was such an unexpected result, and that's why it's on the list today. At number 7, we've got Joe Maisonneuve against Kat Voronova at Samourai MMA 2. And Maisonneuve came in 0-2 into that fight, had some good performances, some hard-fought fights, but was never able to really get her hands on the win at the pro level. And Kat Voronova really came in as a hyped-up prospect, had won some amateur fights, but was also a very well-regarded kickboxer and striker in general. And not only Joe Maisonneuve won that fight, but she didn't even win it with her grappling, which is probably the most surprising part of the fight. She was able to come in, exchange with the striker, and knock her out with a brutal knee in what was a huge surprise for everybody at Samourai MMA 2. At number 6, it's Shannon Clark against Jacki MacLean at Rumble in the Cage 63. Shannon Clark was making her pro debut in that fight, so she wasn't favored to win against 3-1 Jacki MacLean, a very solid woman's talent training out of Shave Bears MMA, but that's what she did. Good performance, was able to secure the TKO in round 3 to get her first pro win. She won another fight after then, so now she's regarded as a very hyped up prospect. But when she came in 0-0, people didn't really know what to expect from her, and to come in and get such a huge win against such a well-regarded prospect with a great record, it was such an amazing victory for her, and that's why I've got it on the list today. At number 5, it's Edward Walls against Michael Imperato at PFC 14. We all know what Michael Imperato is about. He's one of the toughest bantamweight in Canada and came into this fight with a 3-fight winning streak against Edward Walls, which came in with a 10-8 pro record. So of course, the Canadian was heavily favored in that fight, but that's not how it turned out, as Walls was able to knock him out within 2 minutes of the very first round for an absolutely gigantic upset. At number 4 is Xavier Nash against Tristan Connelly at BFL 74. And those who knew Xavier Nash knew that he's probably the best fighter with the worst record in Canada. The guy has his fair share of weird split decision losses on his record, and it makes for not the most appealing record in the country, but you knew that his wrestling was gonna be trouble for Tristan Connelly, who was coming back home after his stint in the UFC, and the odds maker didn't seem to really care for Xavier Nash wrestling that much, as he was a heavy underdog on the odds, but he came in and had an amazing performance using his wrestling against the UFC vet to get the most important win of his career, and a win that makes him an undeniable top talent in the country, that's for sure. At number 3, Mohamed Ado against Matt Speciale, Unified 48. And it's another case of a guy that was quite unknown in Mohamed Ado, but those who knew him knew that he was a very solid fighter. But was he that solid that he could come in and beat the 4-0 kickboxer Matt Speciale, who was highly regarded as one of the rising stars in the Canadian MMA scene? The odds maker didn't seem to think that Ado had much of a chance, but they were wrong, as him and Speciale engaged in an amazing fight, a really good back and forth contest that ended in round 3 after Ado was able to find a head kick out of nowhere and get the stoppage win to get his first pro MMA win after a myriad of cancelled fights. Major congrats to him, one of the biggest surprises of the year according to the odds. Mohamed Ado, Matt Speciale is the number 3 on our list. At number 2, we've got the what the fuck moment of the year, Natalia Silva against Jasmine Jasudavicius, in a fight that was really baffling because Natalia Silva didn't look like much. She was 12-5 with 1 draw coming into that fight, which was her UFC debut, and there was very limited tape on her, and the tape that there was wasn't very flattering, to be honest. She really looked like a girl that was trying to spam arm bars. Like, most of her wins were by armbar, and she looked like a girl who wasn't really in control of the positional aspects of the fight in general. And she came in against Jasmine, a whole different fighter. You know, sometimes they're just fighters who come in as completely new guys, and that could probably be explained by the fact that she hadn't fought since 2019, so she basically had 3 years to work on new wrinkles in her game. And man, how much did it show against Jasmine Jasudavicius? She absolutely dominated that fight against Jas, who was coming in as a heavy favorite here, as like I said, the Brazilian was pretty much unknown. And Silva went on to win another fight by spinning back kick in the UFC later on in the year, and now she's really one woman to watch for in that division. But when she came in against Jasmine, nobody knew her, nobody thought nothing about her, and she just came in and shocked the world against the Canadian, and that's why it is our second biggest upset of the year, Natalia Silva against Jasmine Jasudavicius at UFC Austin. And at number 1, our upset of the year has to be Eli Aronov against Mariusz Ksiazkiewicz at Unified 45. Mariusz established himself as one of the most dominant force on the Canadian MMA scene. The guy was basically undefeated for a while before he went to the Contender Series, lost an absolute bullshit decision to Mariusz Souza, came back to the regional scene, defeated Graham Park, then went on to LFA, where he basically destroyed a guy in 1 minute and 30 seconds, and really came in as like the most hyped up guy in Canada and the most UFC ready guy in Canada. And here comes Eli Aronov from Israel. The guy was 5-0 and basically had only fought regionally. His only fight for a big promotion was for Bellator, but that was when Bellator came to Israel. So the guy really never left his area to fight, never fought at an international level. And on his record were only guys with like 1 or 2 pro fights. So Mariusz was an immense jump in competition for him. And he just came in and put a whooping on him, submitted him in the second round, and just made it look easy. So not only he wasn't favored on the odds, but the way he just came in and dominated in that fight, it was a double surprise. So that's why it is by far for me the biggest upset of 2022, Eli Aronov against Mariusz Ksiazkiewicz at Unified 45. So there it goes. That concludes the list of the biggest upsets of year 2022 in the world of Canadian mixed martial arts. Please leave a like on the video if you liked. Consider subscribing if you want to see more of these videos, and stay tuned for the rest of the list coming very soon.